You're now tuned into the Shoot for Teams podcast with your favorite guys, Dorian and Kyle.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hardwood brand podcast. It's your boy D Hill, the Gift Card Bandit.
Old man Ross is back. Sweatsuits and fly kicks, of course.
Today we have a special guest. We have Chicago native Keenan Wells, the man behind the very dope digital project, Pixel Hall of Fame. Keenan caught our eye while thumbing through a franchise magazine, and we've been fans ever since. Keenan's art brings us back to the old days of playing sports games on our Nintendo. Keenan creates amazing 8-bit and 16-bit animation and composition. His work brings such a different nostalgic vibe to the sports art scene. His work has been commissioned by some of the biggest names in sports like Nike, ESPN, the Celtics, and the San Antonio Spurs, just to name a few. Welcome to the podcast, Keenan Wells.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Keenan, tell us about Pixel Hall of Fame.
Sure. So Pixel Hall of Fame is a project I started in 2016. So it's been a few years now, and really it was just kind of a passion project, a side project that I did for fun. I've always been a designer by trade, so I've always been on the computer doing, digital art, illustration, things like that. So I was pretty familiar with how to do pixel art, and I just kind of wanted to try my hand at it. And and at the time, I hadn't really seen much or any really like sports focused pixel art. So, as a 80s and 90s kid, I was playing all those games growing up. So I definitely wanted to kind of reconnect with some of that and try something fresh.
That's cool. So
Yeah,
how did you get started like in the art world? I know you dabble in some kind of sand art or.
Yeah. So I do have a kind of a traditional art background as well. So I went to school for studio art, so like drawing, painting, sculpture, all that stuff, and I've always kind of done that too. So that's kind of another like track that I have in my art practice is I do some like oil painting and try to mix in some cool materials with that, and that's really nice to kind of just disconnect from the computer a little bit and just do something with your hands. And so I have like the digital pixel art stuff, and then I have like the more traditional stuff as well.
Nice. Which one do you like better?
The pixel art is more fun. The oil painting is more like a meditative and kind of a more relaxing practice for me. But yeah, I love both. They kind of fulfill different roles.
Sweet.
And Keenan, you can center your artwork around so many different things. What drew you into the pixel art as your main focus or your main focus now?
Yeah, so pixel art, I really enjoy it because this might sound counterintuitive, but it's very tedious and it takes a long time. And I actually like that about it. It's like I get kind of like sucked into it and just really kind of go pixel by pixel, drawing these things and these animations like frame by frame by frame. And I really like that about it. It kind of really, it's like just building an image like block by block. So that's kind of why I gravitated toward it. I mean, and then there's also the other stuff. Like, I just think it looks cool. I'm really into like, retro video games and all that stuff.
It's really awesome. Also, what was your longest pixel project time-wise, and then your shortest? Do you remember those?
Yeah,
projects?
Probably ballpark. I would say, I've had an animation that has taken anywhere, like I would say between 20 and 30 hours. So like, almost a whole work week just doing one animation. And then I have some, more static images that, maybe it's lower resolution that, I can kind of knock out in a few hours. But it's kind of a range depending on complexity for sure.
Gotcha. That's pretty awesome.
So how do you go about like finding inspiration for like creating like new pieces? Like as far as like, I know you do like all the whole sports world, but as far as like basketball goes, like what inspires you?
Yeah, so I definitely gravitate toward, like more iconic players. And yeah, I really look for a player that has like a unique character that you can kind of recognize. Like somebody like really focusing on a pose or a movement that's just really unique to that person. So those are the folks that I kind of have typically done in the past, like, like Curry and Jordan and LeBron. And so, they're easy to recognize. So that's kind of makes it easier when you're having like, really low fidelity pixel artwork. So yeah, that's kind of what I look for.
You wouldn't. So you're telling me you wouldn't do the 15th man on the bench or something like that? Somebody that's not really playing a lot. You're gonna stay away from those guys.
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay, I got it. Can you walk us through the process of creating the basketball artwork? Just your process. How does that work?
Sure. Yeah, like I said, I look for I start with kind of an iconic pose, or I definitely find a lot of photography sources, video sources that I can kind of pull from, and then really just try to define that sort of really key pose of that player. And then with the animations, it's really frame by frame. So I'll really break down like video footage, and I'll find some GIFs online that I can kind of isolate each frame, and I'll kind of draw one by one that way.
Wow.
So that kind of helps give it a little bit of a give it a little life,
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I start. I start with the really try to nail the athlete, and then I'll also kind of take inspiration from old video games. Like I look at a lot of like cut scenes from like Street Fighter and like fighting games. I look into those a lot too. So kind of we'll like to pull some elements and graphic elements from stuff like that as well.
Yeah, just a quick question before I ask you the other one. Like, what program do you use to animate the pixel art?
I use Photoshop, so it's pretty manual. Yeah, I don't use any kind of tricks or like automation. It's all kind of pretty rudimentary, like frame by frame timeline stuff.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I do a little graphics, not on your level at all. 'Cause the pixels, that, like you said, it takes a lot of time, but I definitely appreciate what you're doing, because that's amazing.
Well, thank you.
So how do you get your pieces to be like so detailed? Like, it's some of the best stuff I've seen online, and like you look at your stuff, like you recognize that it's pixels, but it doesn't look like pixels sometimes. Like some of your stuff I'm looking at, like, because there's like this one Kobe one that you have when he's like dribbling, and I'm like, damn, there's so much detail, but I know it's pixels.
Yeah, the Kobe one, that one actually took quite a bit. It's a little bit higher resolution, so there is more detail there, but really it's just really diving in, zooming in real close, and just kind of going pixel by pixel. And there's a lot of trial and error in there too. Like I'll kind of faces are hard with pixels, so you have to kind of try different things out and kind of zoom in and out to kind of kind of squint your eyes and blur the pixels and see if it looks like them. So it takes a bit of finesse to get there, but just a lot of trial and error sometimes.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
I salute you, man.
And I just want to say this: I think a lot of people don't know the process. They just see the end result on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, on social media. They don't know what goes into it, what you just explained to us. So that's why we wanted to have you on to just kind of explain that it's not something that happens just like that. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of work. So you're doing a great job. It's pretty awesome, man.
Thank you.
And especially, we're living in the age of instant gratification. So like seeing what you're doing is, it's kind of old school, but it's
pretty dope.
Like that's something that, back in the day, like it took time to create something great. So
yeah,
for sure.
And what inspires you as an artist? What would you say?
What inspires me? Like video games are a big thing. So I'm all over the spectrum with video games. Like the retro stuff I love just because I grew up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love the open world stuff, like kind of like the landscapes that you can kind of explore through those. And so, I get inspired by all that stuff. Video games are a big thing. I also just love traditional artwork as well. So I follow a lot of artists that aren't doing digital stuff. A lot of contemporary artists today. So try to really find inspiration all over.
Who's your favorite artist? you don't mind me asking.
Favorite artist? Oh my gosh, this changes all the time. But right now,
or you could give me a top three. Give me a top three.
Top three. So probably my favorite ever is David Hockney. So he's a painter from he's still alive, but he's kind of got famous in like the 60s, 70s.
Okay.
Who else? I mean, Picasso. I gotta go with the classic there. Picasso. He kind of changed everything. And then let me think of like a contemporary artist that I'm really into. There's this artist, I don't actually know his name, but he goes by BKK Bros on Twitter, and he makes some of the coolest pixel art I've ever seen.
Okay. We have to check him out.
It's the collection he has it's an NFT collection. It's called Game Bros. So if you look that up, you might be able to find them. And yeah, it's really cool. They're like these portraits, but they have like video game elements, kind of like science fiction-y kind of stuff thrown in there.
Sweet.
I'm really into that stuff right now too.
Okay, sounds good. That's a good top three. Thank you.
Like, who was your first athlete that you ever created pixel art for? It doesn't have to be basketball. It's just whoever the first one, and you're like, oh, I got something here.
Yeah, there was actually, when I started this project, I did it because I wanted to do this athlete. So it was Ken Griffey Jr., who I grew up like he was like my hero growing up. I still have all of my baseball cards from when so that was immediately I was like, well, I gotta start with him because that's kind of where my sort of sports journey started. So
that's cool. He's my favorite baseball player too.
Yeah,
I'm not diehard like you, but Ken Griffey's my guy. So we know you're a Chicago native and you're a Bulls fan. You told us that earlier. You guys have had a rough run. I mean, you had highs and lows with Mike, then Derrick Rose. Are you excited to see how the Bulls look now that they're starting to win and you got a new roster? And I guess they're in the top three in the East. I mean, are you enjoying that?
Yeah, it's been awesome this year. I mean, we had a really, basically since Jordan, I guess we had that couple seasons there with Rose, and that I remember Rose. That being like super fun. And I think the city was definitely feeling like, well, this might be the next championship run here. And then when he got hurt, it was like just the balloon popped, and it just never kind of came back together. But I feel like this year it feels like something's happening. The people are really loving this team, so I'm excited to see where they go.
Yeah, they're surprised. Yeah, they're surprised that a lot of people they got a good team. The management did a good job of piecing those guys together for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you got a good roster for sure.
So we've already, kind of talked about, like the early video games being an inspiration for you. What's your favorite video game?
Favorite video game?
I would say from the 80s days.
Yeah. I would probably go with NBA Jam. That's probably like
wow, okay.
Play it all the time. I still play it sometimes. I have it's on my iPad. I have it's like a newer version of it, but
yeah.
And it's one of those games where I'd love to get one of those like the console, like the whole arcade rig, in the basement or whatever. But
we talk about it all the time. Like if we do. When we get our space, we definitely have an NBA Jams in there.
Yeah. They sell it now, but it's the smaller version. We've seen it in the store. It's like $300 or $400, but I'm pretty tall, so I would have to be on my knees. But they have the original NBA Jam, but it's pretty expensive, like $5-6 grand. Something like that.
Wow,
yeah, if not more expensive. But that's cool. So what's your favorite video game console?
So I was a Genesis freak when I was growing up.
Okay.
I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but so I started with the original Nintendo, and then we got a Genesis, so that was kind of like what I played most of the time. So I would say that was probably my favorite. You know, today I have like, you know, the PlayStation and all that stuff, which are great too. But
Yeah,
I have a special place in my heart for the Sega. So
Do you still hang on to them, or you just kind of got rid of them, or are you collecting them as well?
I don't have the ones that I had as a kid. I do, you know, I'll play them on like emulators or
Oh,
even
right. Yeah.
like Nintendo Switch has not very many, but they even have like a Genesis like app that you can use.
oh nice.
Yeah, I just got a Switch for Christmas, and
Nice.
I just saw the emulator for, well, not emulator, but the app for Nintendo, Genesis, Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even Nintendo 64. But I just been playing Mario Odyssey. Honestly,
That game's awesome. Yeah.
it is. It's pretty dope.
I still need to get one. I have a 5-year-old, so I don't want to have his whole life be destroyed right now. So I got to be a responsible dad and not get one yet.
Yeah.
You can get one. You can get one.
Okay, so like we talked about like all of your animations and stuff. Like we feel like your work is kind of tailor made for NFTs, especially like with them blowing up right now. What's the like? Is there a different process for you to create your regular artwork as opposed to NFTs?
It's actually pretty similar. So the reason I kind of jumped into NFTs was, you know, as a digitally native artist, there's never really, or there hasn't been up until, you know, recently, a very good way for me to like, or for people to collect, you know, an animation like that. You know, what I would have to do is make a physical print where you know, you're stuck in like a static image,
Right.
or you could maybe do something with like a digital display, but it's expensive and kind of, you know, technically, logistically challenging. So NFTs really, when I kind of understood what they were, how they worked, it became a very like natural crossover for me. And so I don't really do much different. I create the pieces the same way. The difference would be like the actual like minting of the NFT, getting it on the blockchain and allowing somebody to purchase it that way. That's just, you know, that's fairly straightforward through some of the marketplaces today. So,
And how is that process as far as getting it on the blockchain? Is it very difficult to do? Or?
It depends how you do it. So there are marketplaces that have kind of a turnkey like creator like interface that you know it's really easy to upload your image and you kind of enter your information and then you know a few buttons and it's up there. So that's pretty easy. But if you also, I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole if you work with like an engineer or developer. You can kind of, they call it like a smart contract, which is actually like what's kind of communicating with the blockchain. And so that's kind of my next step, is like to kind of take that, go a little deeper and maybe, you know, try to do some more custom things with how people are interacting with these. But that's kind of that's a next step for me. So I've been kind of more living in like the turnkey, easy solution for now.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about the smart key, you know, like having your own smart key opposed to going through. I don't know a lot about NFTs. I'm learning.
Yeah,
but I know you mentioned yes, OpenSea. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's the one I use. It's super easy to do it on your own. I think the issue though is like if let's say OpenSea decided one day to go out of business, not that they would want to, but then I would lose access to like I would basically never be able to update my collection.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So that's why having my own smart contract, where it's marketplace agnostic, is what, you know, I really want to get toward, because then, you know, I'm not dependent on any one marketplace. I can kind of do my own thing and
smart.
Yeah. So that's
very smart. Okay, that is.
And then that way you can sell your stuff on your own website.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, because I know it. Like me and Kyle have been talking about, you know, NFTs, and I mean it's crazy right now, and
it's a lot, Keenan. It's a lot, man. It's like like going back to college, man. I'm taking notes. I'm at work. I'm talking to him. It's a lot to take in right now, man.
It sure is. I hear you. I think it took me a couple weeks of just like just on Twitter trying to figure out what the heck how these worked, and before I even made a move. So I hear you. It's definitely a little painful getting up and running.
Yeah, because you got to get a wallet. I have one. I use MetaMask, and I just figured out like the different marketplaces to go into, like OpenSeas and I forgot the other one. But OpenSeas is like the big one that everyone uses. And but the NFT thing is pretty cool for creatives because now it gives us like a platform to where when you sell your work, like in the traditional sense, like say you just create like the poster you have behind you, like if you sold that to someone and then later a couple years down the line they sell it, you don't get a commission off of it. But now with the NFTs, you're able to get a commission off every time it sells, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's a huge like the possibility there is enormous for creators. These are basically programmable artworks, that can kind of, if you're good enough at it, you can kind of program them to do whatever you want. So,
oh wow,
I think people kind of maybe don't get how big that is. Like that, that's never existed before, and I think that's really cool. So, yeah,
and especially like it helps the creator, like. You're always going to get paid for your awesome work instead of the art gallery getting paid every time they sell it. Or the
exactly. Yeah, it kind of tears down some of the walls of the current traditional art world institution, and which is hard to break into. And if you don't have connections or if you didn't go to grad school, like you don't know people in that world, it's hard to get in there. So this is kind of a way for creators to sort of engage in that marketplace without having to go through that institution. But it's still on us to promote ourselves. And if I don't get eyeballs on the work, then nobody's going to buy it. So there's still work to get there for sure.
And so Keenan, I have a 2-part question, just to go back a little bit. I know that you did, and you're very excited about this, that you did work for Kyrie and LeBron. And you always talk about that. Do you get to keep the IP rights of that stuff that you work on? And just can you tell us about the whole process, the experience, doing that? I mean, that's pretty amazing, and it came out very nice.
Well, very, very cool.
Yeah. So with regard to IP, that's definitely an area. Especially with NFTs, you have to be careful and you have to understand what's going on there. So those specific ones, those were done on commission. So Nike essentially purchased them from me.
Right.
So I couldn't use them as is. Like I basically would have to, change it or really make it something different. So that's really, as an artist, you can use existing IP out in the world, but you have to change it and you have to make it your own. You can't just, represent it, as it is. Otherwise you can get in trouble for that. So,
right.
So yeah, as long as you're kind of reinterpreting something that, that's kind of been my approach to that stuff. And then working with Nike was awesome. I mean, it was pretty chill. Like I had one of their creative folks reach out to me and the pieces that I created was a LeBron animation and a Kyrie animation, and it was right after they won the finals in 2016, and so the LeBron piece was celebrating that chase down block.
Right, we saw that
play, and then the Kyrie 3-pointer that kind of iced the game, and then they ended up retweeting those, each of them, LeBron and Kyrie.
Oh, wow!
So I know they saw my work.
That's crazy. That has to be a crazy feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. Both of them retweeted, huh?
Yeah. I think I can't remember who it was, but one of them was like, "Hey, you should check this out," and then the other one retweeted.
Nice, man. That's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like, how does companies work with you? They just hit you up, and do you guys? Is it like a collab thing, or are they just kind of like, "Hey, Keenan, we want you to do this LeBron dunk for us"?
Yeah, so I mostly get folks reaching out to me, and then most of the time it's been more of like a commission basis where they'll have kind of a project in mind and they want me to kind of execute on the artwork. I recently did a project with with Rally Road, which is like a alternative asset company. They have really expensive like sports cards in their collection, and people can kind of fractionally invest in those. And that was actually a true collaboration where it was Rally Pixel Hall of Fame. So definitely pursuing more of those lately, just because I definitely want to get my name out there more. So yeah, it's been a combination in the past, mostly by commission though.
That's really cool with Rally. I know you being a card collector and everything, that was probably a dream come true, huh?
Yeah, that was. I had a goal last year. I wanted to make my own card set, and I'd never done that before, and I had to do a lot of research on like how to make cards and all this stuff, and so it was really cool to work with them and have them kind of help create something like that together in kind of an official capacity. They have their own like fan base too, and so that kind of brought a lot of new collectors to me as well. So that was really fun.
That's cool, man. Did you growing up? Did you collect just like baseball cards, or did you do baseball, basketball? I don't think too many people collected football cards, but I mean,
I did. I collected all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like basically whatever I could find at the store. Like when we were at the store, I would just grab whatever I could, and so I think I still have a lot of them. They're pretty worthless, but yeah, I've looked through them recently, and I even got some hockey cards in there. So I was all over the place. Yeah,
gotcha.
And it's crazy, Keenan, how because Dorian and I still have a bunch of basketball cards, and we used to buy Beckett's, and you would try to meet up with people and trade cards, and you would buy the thick glass with the screws to keep your important Michael Jordan cards safe. And now you just said that a lot of them are just worthless, which is crazy.
I know. Yeah, they made so many of them back then. It was like they call it the junk wax era, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they just made millions of copies of these things, and as a kid, I don't know how old you were back then, but I didn't keep them in good shape. I was throwing them around.
We didn't. Only a few. We had rubber bands around them.
So yeah, that pretty much kills any value that would.
It does.
Yeah.
Do you think this new NFT market will be like a new source for collecting? Like say you're making your cards as far as NFTs goes. Do you think that this will be like the next step in that evolution of trading cards?
I do, and I think that's actually what I'm very excited about is kind of figuring out how to bridge that gap between the physical collectible and the digital collectible. And right now there's not, nobody's really kind of cracked that code yet. So I think there's a really cool opportunity there to what kind of technology can we build to kind of have a physical collectible that's kind of attached to a digital version of itself.
Yeah.
So finding ways to kind of play with that is really interesting to me. So I definitely want to explore that. I think that has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I could be just speaking only because I only know your digital work, but I mean you're pretty much at the forefront of it. I'm sure these companies, if they're smart, they should hit you up, man. Recreate some of these classic. They can recreate these classic cards with you, and hey, man, sky's the limit. Honestly, with this NFT stuff.
Totally, I think there's so many possibilities, and it could go a lot of different ways. I have a lot of ideas on it, but I don't exactly know. I don't think I know exactly how to solve that problem yet. But that's something I kind of want to make a goal is to see, how deep and how kind of interesting that connection can be between the two.
Yeah.
So Keenan, we found your work and we found out about you through Franchise Magazine. We went to a pop-up with them, and Dorian did some work with them, and great guys. They had a basketball card game we played, the basketball cards. But how did you hook up with them and meet them?
So they reached out to me, I believe through Instagram. So when I started this project, and this was really early, when I started this project back in 2016, I think they reached out pretty quickly after I kind of started posting on Instagram. And that's really what Pixel Hall of Fame was at the time. It was just kind of an Instagram project. It was like, I'm just going to put my stuff up there, get some followers, whatever. So they followed me and reached out to me, and then I actually met up with them at we're doing some art fair in San Francisco. I actually lived in Oakland at the time, so it was
okay.
So I met up with them at one of their pop-ups at the time, and yeah, we just kind of talked through possible ideas and landed on the 92 Dream Team as a concept, and just kind of ran with that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. That's really cool, man. Yeah. That's really cool. So, like, what's your dream project? If you could set, if you had unlimited budget, unlimited creative control over everything, like, what's your dream project?
Yeah, dream project. I think it would be something like I was describing, like, and maybe so last year with Tops. I don't know if you follow like the Tops Project 2020 or Project 70 at all, like. Where you have kind of artists making, officially licensed sports cards. So I would love to take something like that, work with, an official capacity, and then also kind of doing that, bridging that gap between the physical and the digital collectibles. So kind of a full spectrum, digital, physical, initiative project with kind of an officially licensed IP, which would be really awesome. That's kind of my dream. I don't know if Topps is going to continue that kind of stuff, but
they should, though. It's some cool stuff being made, man.
For sure, yeah.
Some cool
How long were you in Oakland?
So I lived in Oakland for about 6 years, maybe 5 years, 5.5 years. I'm from Chicago originally, but I moved out there for a job, and then moved back here to Chicago in 2018. So it's about 2012 to 2018.
Did you enjoy? My wife is from, her family's up there. We go all the time from Emeryville.
Okay,
so
that's real close to where we were.
It's pretty nice. A lot of people, though. I don't, it's very small. It's nice.
Kind of landlocked. You got the hills.
Yeah, it is. It is. Would you go back, or you just enjoy being in Chicago?
I loved Oakland. And part of it's just I have a lot of great friends there. But yeah, I like Oakland a lot. I also lived in San Francisco for about a year, and I didn't like that as much. I felt claustrophobic to me.
Very, even worse. Right.
Yeah. So I like Oakland. I could totally live there again. But Chicago's my home, and I grew up here, and I have family here. So it's my favorite city, I think, in the world, Chicago. So the winters are kind of rough, but the summertime, everyone's like in a great mood. So that's fun too. So.
And everybody that I've met from Chicago has been super cool, man. Like, I've met so many, like one of my best friends, like his wife are from Chicago. Some people I used to work with from Chicago. Everybody's been cool from Chicago. So I'm like, I got to get out there and check out Chicago, man.
Yeah, it's a great city. A lot of great food. It's kind of it's a big city, but it feels small, and sometimes in certain neighborhoods. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. So what's next? Like, do you have any? I mean, you may not be able to speak on it, but do you have any projects lined up? And like, what's next for you?
I do. I have a few like irons in the fire right now. Nothing I can kind of like publicly talk about, but.
Gotcha.
I'm excited about this year. It's going to be real busy. I've got more projects on my plate than I could probably handle, but I'm going to just go for it and make it work. So
that's good. Exciting. I mean, hey, you're growing as an artist. I mean, this is what you get. I don't know if this is necessarily what you got into it for, but you make great work, so it's natural progression for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the goal is really to get to a place where I can do my own stuff full time, kind of not being beholden to like somebody else's vision. I really want to just be able to work on my vision, which is the last 12 months has really started to come into focus. And so that's the goal for this year, is to get there.
What's it like being creative? I mean, I'm a creative as well, so I'm gonna ask you, dad to dad. I know you have 2 kids.
I do, yeah.
How is it like to balance like that, being like a creative and also balancing like family life with your 2 kids?
It's a lot. You know, so our 2 kids are young. We've got a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. So it's a whole production right now at home.
Yeah.
It's great, but yeah, it's definitely hard to find time and energy. Energy is probably the bigger challenge.
Yes.
So I'll have time, but I'm just swiped, you know. But so yeah, I just gotta have to push through that sometimes. It's hard, but.
Do you have like a routine, or like do you have to stay up late, or do you wake up earlier to try to?
I'm a night owl, so I usually stay up late, and I wish I could work in the morning, but brain's not there yet.
No, I'm the same as you. Like I will work to the wee hours of the morning when everybody's asleep and try to get stuff done. Like sometimes I could do the morning, but I feel like the best work is done late at night.
Yeah, same for me.
So Keenan, this is not a shameless plug for our company, but we're selfish and we might want to create an NFT with you or do a collaboration eventually. But for everyone out there listening, our listeners, your listeners, you don't have to give us a price, but is it expensive for someone to get something created for you? Not a corporation, but a small business. Is it really, really, really pricey, or do you work with people just so they get an idea?
Yeah, so typically I'll take on projects if it's a good fit, like with what I'm working on.
Right.
And if like pricing wise, it is time consuming to make this stuff. So I kind of price it hourly. So it really just depends on the complexity of it. But I mean, you could probably, if it's a static image that's just going to take a few hours, like, it might be a few $100 or something, but.
Gotcha. Just wanted them to get an idea. You don't have to, because we would like to do something with you in the future.
Yeah.
But, we know your plate is very small now, but, we're excited because we love that. Yeah, we'll make it happen, man. For sure.
Yeah, because we're just, we're a basketball company, but we also want to bring like a different aspect to it. Like, bring everybody from all different walks of life into it, and show people different stuff, like the arts, the community, like all that kind of stuff. We just want to kind of present that to the world, and just let people know about awesome artists and awesome people like yourself. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Anybody involved with basketball, because everybody's not going to make the NBA, but people like yourself, you're still involved with basketball. People want to be referees, photographers like Dorian, and coaches and trainers. There's so many other jobs in the basketball world we want to open up and educate people about. So that's the goal for us.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Appreciate it. So we're wrapping up. This is the fun part. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you just pick one or the other. I'll ask you, do you like red or blue, or dog or cat? And it's just fun.
Okay.
So don't be nervous. It's called rapid fire. First question is the Chicago Bulls or the Chicago White Sox?
White Sox.
Upper Deck or Ultra Fleer?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with Ultra Fleer.
Yeah, we like Ultra Fleer. Derrick Rose or Scottie Pippen?
Pippen.
B.J. Armstrong or Bill Cartwright?
Oh wow, that's a tough one. I gotta go with Bill Cartwright.
Nice.
Luis Robert or Roberto Alomar?
Luis Robert. He's my boy. So I collect his cards. So.
Yeah, I did a little research on you. Jordan versus Bird or NBA Jam?
NBA Jam, yeah.
Okay. And Derrick Rose or Michael Jordan?
MJ, hands down.
Okay. That's it. Just something small.
Who's your favorite White Sox, just all time?
All time. It probably got to be Frank Thomas. I was, I'm a '90s kid, so
yeah,
I had his like shoes, the Big Hurt. I forget
I remember those.
I had those shoes. So
And it was funny because I didn't even realize, I shouldn't even say this, but Ken Griffey Jr. played just for a little bit, right?
He did, yeah. He played for I don't even know if it was a full season, but
right, I saw that.
Yeah, that was kind of wild. It's like one of those it looks like he's photoshopped in all the photos. It's like he doesn't belong in that uniform.
No, he doesn't. Everybody knows him from the Mariners, but I just saw that and I was like, he played for the White Sox?
I didn't even know that.
I've been on the lookout for like a jersey, like a White Sox Griffey jersey, but they're kind of hard to find actually.
That would be sweet for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you collect jerseys as well? I didn't mean to cut you off, Norman.
Just casually, to wear
okay.
wear the games and stuff, stuff like
so,
that.
Let everybody know where they can find you online and, just plug yourself, my man.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there. It's just at Pixel Hall of Fame, all one word. And then also on Instagram, same handle, Pixel Hall of Fame. And then I have a website, pixelhalloffame.com, if you want to check out some of my projects and get in touch. Yeah, that's probably the best way.
Cool, man.
Well, we're signing off. Thank you so much, Keenan, for joining us today. We wish you nothing but success. Taking time out of your day, and we're just going to sign off. Old Man Ross, Sweatsuit Supply Kicks, spread love and not hate.
It's your man D Hill, the Gift Card Bandit. Get in the gym, shoot some jumpers, at least about 8. We out of here, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks.